Olá, welcome, bem-vindo to Yarn Stories with Olivia, or Conte com Olivia, my little channel here on YouTube where I talk about my love of knitting and crochet and all things yarn and the makes that result from the yarn acquisitions that come into my life. If this is the sort of thing that interests you, welcome. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. And yeah, so a little bit about me. Let's do the administrative side first. For those of you that may be new, you can find me as Olivia30 on Ravelry. I'm pretty diligent with keeping all of my projects recorded there. And I can be found as Olivia30M on Instagram, where I am pretty active with posting my makes. So today we're going to be talking about a very obvious finished item and a new, well, I pretty much only have one finished item. I have a couple of half-finished objects and an update on something we talked about at the last episode. Plus, I did make it to Rhinebeck this year. If you do follow me on Instagram, you know that I did. So Rhinebeck meaning New York sheep and wool. And I do have a little bit of footage and photos and a little bit to talk about in regards to the festival. I know there are tons and tons of videos already up on YouTube that talk about the festival, so I'm going to try not to repeat what you may have already seen. I'll talk about what was relevant to me and what my journey there was all about this year. So let me start with the finished object, which had been planned to be worn at Rhinebeck, and it was, but it is not the item that I talked about. So if you watched the last episode, I did talk a bit about this project. This has been a long-term project of mine to make this sweater. This is the Alentejana sweater on Ravelry. The pattern designer is Filipa Carneiro. Her Ravelry name is Filipa Neonoi. She is a designer for Rosarios 4 yarn, a yarn from Portugal. And I'd been admiring this top for a while and had thought of it as my Rhinebeck sweater, my 2024 Rhinebeck sweater, as soon as I saw it last winter. I think even before I started podcasting, I knew this was going to be the sweater. But I am a procrastinator. And I am a squirreler when it comes to knitting, because there's always so many beautiful things that come out. There's so many things that I want to knit. And this one got put aside and put aside and put aside. And then a month before the festival, I said, I have to start on it. And I did. And I went like gangbusters. I worked on it. I had decided to use a brown yarn with the Piopardo yarn that I had, which is the yarn that I have here. And I was well on my way with it, and I thought I was going to have it done in plenty of time to take photos before Rhinebeck, post it on here, and take some beautiful photos at the festival wearing it. But that didn't happen. So let me explain to you what happened with this sweater, which I absolutely love. I love it so much. It is so comfortable. The fit is... It's on the looser side right now, because if I wear a sweater underneath it or a turtleneck underneath, it's going to be absolutely perfect. But let me tell you the story about this piece. So the last time you saw me talk about this, which was my last episode, which was on September 28th, and I've got a little story for you about that episode in September 28th, but I'll leave that for the end for story time. So this is what you saw at the last episode. I was using Knit Picks Swish DK in the color, does that have a color? 2633. Oh, loam heather. Yeah, loam heather. And it was a beautiful brown, and I was using it with the Piopardo, which is, it matched really beautifully, and it was going really smoothly, and the sweater was going really well. And then I did the test fit before sleeve separation, and there was going to be a poncho. But this is what you saw at the last podcast. It worked up beautifully with this dark brown. You could see the pattern really well. with the brown. You see the V's there? It was coming out so nicely. But what happened was the Swish DK is a DK. The Piopardo is a thick, thin sport weight. And I thought it would work out nicely with the DK because of the thick, thin. And it did. It was working out really nicely. I was really happy with it. But what happened was I also, once again, overestimated my size. So I went and did the extra large. And the extra large had too much positive V's for me. The pattern itself already had positive V's. So that's why I ended up with it being larger. And also because I'm also thinking that I'm smarter sometimes than the designer. And even though I had made a gauge swatch, I still decided to go up a needle size for the color work, and I didn't need to because it just kept adding more volume to the piece. So I'll insert a picture here or here of what I ended up doing and the decision that I did, and it was to just start it over again. Just start it over again. Follow the designer's instructions. Don't make your own. And off I went, and here it is. Here's the result. But I didn't have any sport weight in brown that was as dark as this Swish DK. So I went with this one, which I love the yarn. It was the first time using it. It is the Upcycle Alpaca blend. And it is a sport weight, and the color is truffle. This truffle, and it is a 33% alpaca, 34% wool, and a 33% acrylic. And I like the blend because I'm slightly allergic to wool, and I'm slightly allergic to alpaca, and I'm slightly allergic to cats. I seem to have this need to take an allergy pill in order to be around little Gary, or any cat for that matter. And alpaca and wool as well. So it doesn't stop me. It doesn't stop me from having Gary in my life. It doesn't stop me from wearing wool. But I am aware that I'll start to get the itchy eyes if it's 100% alpaca or if it's 100% wool. So the acrylic component in this yarn helps tone that down a little bit for me. And the yarn knit up beautifully. Very economical yarn from Knit Picks. I ordered it when it was on sale. And I ordered a whole bag, and I still have, so for the piece, I used 4 balls plus 25, quarter of this ball, and I still have this much left in the yarn, which I do plan to use for another sweater because it has been very comfortable. No itchy eyes. It's kept me really warm, and yeah, I'm really happy. The only thing with it was with the Piopardo, which I don't have a full skein to show you anymore. So I'll use this. This is all I have left in the Piopardo now, which now that I've shown you, I will take this back and reuse this for something else. The only thing with this yarn is that the color of it, the weave of the color, the spin is different shades that are integrated with the yellow, and every once in a while there's a little bit of a brown. It's hard to see there, but there's some brown mixed in with the yellow. So what happened was it's a similar shade of brown as this brown. So the color work here in the middle kind of gets lost, right? You don't see, well, you do see some of it. You do see the V's here. So the V's weren't to me, the V's weren't as pronounced here as they were with the darker shade of brown. But I was still okay with it. I was so happy with how it looked. I was so happy with how it fit. I'll do a little stand-up thing here, but I will be putting in some photos of me outside, which I had planned. So let's go back a little bit. I had planned to take photos of me wearing this at Rhinebeck. And I did say a few minutes ago that I'm a procrastinator and I'm also a squirreler. So what happened was waiting until the last minute to do that piece and then having to tinker and restarting it and starting other projects, working on other projects. I came really close to deadline for this one, and I would have had it done on time to have it blocked to be worn on the Saturday at the festival. But as has happened before, it's happened with my Mycroft, it's happened with the fletching sweater, a couple of others that I've done, the flex. You would think that by now I would know better. I have short arms and I tend to always follow the pattern. So the sleeves came out too large. I was about maybe, I don't know, 2.5 inches from the rib, the hem, and I decided to try on the sweater and the sleeves were huge. I'll insert a little video here or a photo of what it was looking like. And I wasn't happy with how the sleeves were. So guess what I did? I took the sleeves back. I redid the whole sleeves. I had the sleeves done and I took them all back to the separation. Took them back, redid them with the small, I went one size down. So now this is a size large. So my sleeves are size medium sleeves. Started over again with a size medium, kept the increase ratio the same as the pattern says, but did not go further. As soon as the pattern decreases, when it got to the point where it says continue knitting until X and X, centimeters, I just went right for the cuff. And it is the perfect size. It's the perfect size sweatshirt and sweater. Absolutely lovely. The pattern is super easy to follow. It doesn't have multiple pages. It's literally 3 pages. It does sort of assume that you know how to knit sweaters, but I didn't find that it would test anybody's patience. The chart is really easy to read for the color work. Highly recommend the pattern. There should be more people knitting this sweater. I'm jumping again because I was going to say my future plans include another one. But so that's why it ended up being not photographed on Saturday, because on Saturday I still had to finish the hem on it, and it got done in the hotel room. And so it didn't get worn on Saturday, which was okay because it turned out that Saturday in Rhinebeck, New York, started out as a chilly morning, but ended up being a very hot day. And halfway through the day, not everybody was ditching their sweaters and wearing their t-shirts. So it was good because then it would have been a shame for me not to wear this at some point and not being able to show it off. So finished on Saturday night. It got worn on Sunday to the festival without being blocked. So it looked nice. It was great, but I didn't bother taking many photos with it at the festival because I really wanted it to be showcased on my grid and on my Ravelry page, on my Instagram grid and on my Ravelry page in its full, the way it should look. So I took minimal photos and I do plan to be taking some here. I've got some beautiful trees in my backyard that are turning beautifully, and I will be taking some photos and I'll insert them here, standing up in a better way. But now it is the way I think it should be. And I think I'm so glad I'm getting to see it on the screen because I can see my V's. So yeah, highly recommend the pattern. I think I've said that a few times already. Totally, if you want something snugger, go down a size because there is the positive ease built into it. And if you're like me with shorty arms, consider doing the size smaller and don't continue with the increases. So that's the story. The Alentejana sweater by Filipa Carneiro, a designer for Rosarios 4, yarn in Portugal. And you can find her as Filipa Carneiro on Ravelry. And I did make, I didn't bring it up with me, I did make cards with a QR code for this pattern, so that if somebody had asked me at the festival, I would have given them the card. But since I didn't really wear it on Saturday, then on Sunday, I couldn't find the cards. I don't know what I did with them. So I'll see if it works. I'll try to put a picture here of the QR code if you want to just scan the QR code. But if you're a Ravelry user, if Ravelry is accessible to you, you can hop on there and get it. It's not an expensive pattern, and highly recommend. I also recommend the Knit Picks yarn, and as well as this Piopardo. It's Piopardo. Piopardo yarn from Rosário Quatro. Shown it a few times on this podcast, so you probably have heard me talking about it a bit if you've been following me here for the last few episodes. So that's the story with this one, and I'm happy with this one. So let's move on to my other project that I wanted to show you, which is half finished object, and it does tie into my visit to New York Sheep and Wool. So we will talk now. So my half O is this sock, which is a simple vanilla sock. Nothing fancy to it. I knit this sock in Patons Kroy yarn, which is a heavy duty yarn, one that I've used many times for socks for my son. He absolutely loves this yarn because he wears his socks all the time with his work shoes, sneakers, and it is great for throwing in the washing machine and dryer, and it doesn't change his socks. So I had this yarn. I think I cast these, yeah, it would have been last October when I casted. Would have been last October where I cast on for these socks, and it sat in a little project bag until it was time to head off to the festival. I had planned to only bring, let me just bring it up here to show you. I had planned to just bring this bag with me to work on my projects. Seen me show this bag before, which was made for me by my friend Manuela, and this was my plan. This was all that I was going to take for knitting. I had to finish this. I didn't want to squirrel, so this is what I took, and I went into my whips basket, and I did what I called a lucky dip, which is something that some podcasters have done. Franny Do Makes does this, and there's another podcaster from, it's Kate from Hawthorne Cottage Craft. She does this too with her projects. She'll just grab a bag that has a skein of sock yarn, and then she'll work on that sock yarn. So she calls it a lucky dip. Whatever she pulls out was what she works on. So that's what I did. I went into my whip basket, and I just eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and I grabbed this one. And this is what was in here. So in this bag, which is my adorable little bag made by my friend Deb, handmade by Deb, in this little bag is where I had the socks. And so what I did at the festival is I had it on my wrist as I stood in line for the souvenir tent. Yes, I was one of those people that did not buy ahead. I did spend 45 minutes in line to get the merchandise, which was perfectly fine because I was on my own. I didn't have my family. My husband and son tend to join me every year at the festival. This year they didn't, so I was on my own time. I could do what I felt like doing, stand where I felt like standing, do as much people watching as I felt like doing. And so I worked on knitting on the sock. And because this is what was in the bag, this is what it looked like. Here's what the sock looked like. I had initially used, I had a little bit of this orange left over from some other yarn project that I had. I couldn't remember what it was for. It was a mystery brick colored yarn, sock yarn. So it must have been a sock that I made a while ago. And I wanted to use it up. So I had done the cuff and I had started the sock. And I had thought, okay, but when I pulled it out of the bag as I'm standing in line, I wasn't crazy about how this was curling up here, or it wasn't, maybe it'll block, I wasn't sure, but I didn't like how it was doing this. See, if you see that there, different compositions of yarn. The Patons yarn is almost, it's a fingering DK yarn. It's a thicker weight yarn, and this was a much lighter weight fingering, and it just didn't work. So I said, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna forget it. I do socks consecutively, 2 at a time. So I put this back in the bag. Well, this one never left the bag. I kept this one just so you could see it. So this one stayed in the bag. And what I did then was I took one sock apart, started it over again, and cast on the cuff with the yarn. And the color of the yarn gave me just the right amount of, you know, a little pop-up at the top. And the pattern, these haven't been blocked, so that's why you can see the crease from I do knit magic loop. So this would be the side. This does block out. I don't have any, I don't have the a ladder. This is just simply from being folded in the bag. And that's why it ended up being knit quite a, you know, I did knit quite a bit of it while I was standing in line, or when I was on the hill, or when I was sitting by myself, people watching wherever I landed. And it knit up fast, and I knit on it on the way home. And I was done with this on Tuesday. It just took me, you know, by Tuesday. And I'd forgotten how much, yeah, I think I finished it Tuesday, because I remember posting it on Instagram as a work in progress Wednesday for the other sock. I'd forgotten how much I enjoyed knitting socks. It's been a while. I haven't knit socks since May or March. Yeah, May, because I cast on for June but never finished those, and how easy they work. So it came out beautiful. So this is my half finished object. And in the bag is these will be finished. So I'll be taking this apart and restarting it. So this will be finished soon. So that project will be finished soon. In the meantime, in my bag again, that goes to work with me. And I'm just going to show you what I had done with this bag and those socks. So I had this bag with me at Rhinebeck, and I had it, you know, when I wasn't knitting the sock, I had it here. And the plan was to not buy anything more that fit in here or in another bag that I took with me. I'm jumping ahead again. Yeah, all the things that I planned to talk, my outline is going out the window. The outline is getting all messed up. So much for taking notes. Oh, yeah. Okay. But now what I do have living in this bag is a new project that was cast on with yarn that I picked up at Rhinebeck. And before I show you the yarn and the project, let me give you a little story. So this past winter, I knit my husband my very first ever pair of DK socks. I've knit my husband's socks before, but he's never been much of a fan of socks. He thanks me, and he might wear them a day here or there, but it's not something that he's gotten very attached to. He says that, you know, dá muito calor nos pés. His feet get too hot when he's wearing socks. So I hadn't done any socks for him, but this past winter I decided to do him a pair of DK, thinking that maybe the DK yarn might fit his feet better, might be more comfortable in his feet, and it did. And I had knit him a pair of socks in DK yarn, which was this pattern, the Njord socks by Nancy Wheeler. It's a turquoisey blue. It's not going to show up. It's showing up more green because of the natural light here in my window. And he absolutely loves these socks. He wears them all the time with his Crocs. It might be warmer now. Throughout the whole summer, he wore them with his Crocs and his shorts. He does work from home 4 days of the week. So a lot of times you'll be wearing just, you know, comfortable clothes with his Crocs or shorts with his Crocs. And he would wear these because if the AC kicked in the summer, his feet would get cold. And so he'd wear the socks. And I kept warning him that, you know, hand knit socks are not meant to be worn on 24/7 rotation. Needed to give them a break. And anyway, in the wash they went. Next morning he had them on his feet again. So the other day he confessed they've gotten to this point. The heel. The heel is gone. The heel's completely gone on the sock. It's, you know, it worn, I mean, they held up really well to the toes. So it's just the heel is completely gone. On both of them. So mind you, if he's wearing them with his Crocs, I don't see it, right? So all this time I'm thinking that they're perfectly fine. So anyway, he washed them. I saw what happened and I just grabbed them so that he'll stop wearing them. And I'm going to see if I can mend them. I do have the sock mender ball. I'm going to see if I can cut. I mean, I should be able to figure out how. So I'm going to see if I can mend them because he loves these so much that, and this yarn is so, it was such a nice yarn, which was a mystery yarn that I picked up at my local charity shop. So I have no idea. I assumed it had nylon in it. I want to say it did, but either way, I mean, the wear that these had, it's surprising it lasted as long as it did. So what I decided to do was I'm going to go to Rhinebeck. I'm not going to buy anything more than what fits in my little bag. The plan was not to buy anything more than that fit into my little backpack that Manuela had made for me. It is, you know, I did use this on Saturday at Rhinebeck. I keep saying Rhinebeck at New York Sheep and Wool. And, you know, it's my little backpack. So the plan was not to buy any more yarn than what fit in here or would fit, you know, between these two bags. This is what I had planned to come away with. I wasn't going to buy any more because I still have untouched yarn from Rhinebeck 23, Rhinebeck 22, and Rhinebeck 21. So I'd already gone to a festival this year too, and I just needed to control myself. So what I did then was had a plan for just one specific purchase of yarn, which was to go to the booth, Herd of Cats. They are, it's a vendor that does yarn dyeing based on pictures of cats. They're based in Colorado, I believe. Cats and dogs that are in shelters. They'll use a picture of the cat or the dog and dye the yarn accordingly. So that was my plan, was to visit the booth of Herd of Cats. That was besides the souvenir tent, that was the only other place I'd planned to go to and come away with a purchase. If I'm not able to put a video in here of their booth, I'll put it at the end. I have purchased from them before, so this is their little business card where they talk about their it's road trip sock yarn. This yarn was hand dyed with love in Denver, Colorado by Allie Pate. And the skein that I picked up had a picture of Morty. So Morty has similar coloring to Gary. And I had to get the skein because Gary is Daddy's cat. And I should be making a pair of socks for Daddy to replace those. And I'm going to do them in Gary's color. So I got, and it's already balled up. So that's what's in this bag now. Is the skein of yarn that has the coloring of someone similar to Gary. It's hard to see on here, but there's little flecks. It's a little bit more gray than brown, and Gary's got a little bit more brown to him. but there's a few little flecks here and there of the little orangey nose color that matches the nose. So here's where I'm at with the sock. I did a little pop of color up the top with a brick color, and if you recognize it, it's the color from the other sock that I took apart. I still didn't want it to go to waste, so I used it from here to put it here. And I decided, I had started it as a Nancy Wheeler pattern that she had, the stay-at-home socks. I wanted to use that pattern because that's, they love to stay at home and sit on his, well, Gary loves when daddy's home and sits on his lap. But the yarn didn't do justice to the pattern. It kind of disappeared with this yarn. So I decided to do that pattern for a different project. So for here, I'm doing just a 3x1 rib. And there's like little spots. I don't know if it'll, yeah, there's little spots of like the little rusty nose that Gary has. And so this is where it's at. I'm about to do the heel turn and flap. That's what works good for socks for both my son and my husband, is the heel, is the slip stitch heel turn, and then the gusset. They need this structure for the wear that they have on their socks, which, by the way, these are, I made them to a size 8.5, 9. If they don't fit my son, they end up going in the gift box for whoever shows up and wants a pair of socks in a size 8.5, 9. Because I used up the whole skein, and that's why it went to a size 9, because I used up the whole ball of yarn. So this is where I'm at with these. This is what I'm working on now. These hopefully will be finished in time for the next podcast. And oh, I almost forgot. Before I decided to use this for the cuff, I did make this purchase at on my way out. I was on my way out already, and I had the yarn and I was good. I'd already met my budget, and something else that's back here. But I did spot this yarn. This is Garthanor Organic, which is a UK. It's a yarn from Wales. And it was a smaller skein of yarn that I thought, okay, if that other yarn that I had with a plan for a heel, for the little touch of color up the top, the heels, and possibly the toes, if it's not enough, which I don't believe it is, I figured I'd get this, and that this is what I'm planning to use for the heel flap and gusset. It is a sock yarn. It is a wool yarn. It is a, let's see, it says organic wool, and he did say that this yarn was the best for socks when I was asking him. It is 90% Romney, 10% Hebridean. It is a 4-ply fingering. And it would be, he said it's very hard wearing for socks. And he recommended this for my heel flap and gusset. So I'll probably be using that on the socks to see if it'll last a little longer. And I'm going to be using a size 1 needle, to which is a Rhinebeck purchase as well. Size 1 needle to make the stitches a little tighter. I tend to use a US 2 with 64 stitches in my recipe for yarn. I tend to use a size 2 and on 64 stitches for my sock recipe. And that has fit my son really well. It's fitting my husband well. But I think I'm going to start using a size 1 for the heel flap, because it might build a tighter fabric. So that's the story with this work in progress, which hopefully we'll be done. Two things that I mentioned at the last episode, which I'll just update you all on here. And thank you for those of you who left me a comment about this. And I agree with you, and I think it worked, which was the Misurina. I did put it on barber cords. I did block it. And yeah, it is, you could barely see the color work coming through now. It did fill up a little bit more. I mean, I can still see it, but the reality is, if I'm wearing it, nobody's going to be coming that close to me and saying, oh, I can see your color work. And I thought, well, I was being so concerned about it. I don't need to. I tried it on. It fits me really well up here. So the plan is going to be to continue. But now that I have the experience with this one and how now I get it. I get what the dominant color needs to be. I get what the color that is the color work needs to be, which hand it should be on. I'm going to finish it so I know that the rest of it is going to look marvelous. So the plan is to finish this one going forward. So thank you, thank you. I think Sophie from Cozy Meadow Knits was someone who mentioned it, and it was someone else, and I can't remember. Thank you, and I'll put the name here on the other person who mentioned it when I do the editing. It did, you know, even though it's there and I can see it still, like I said, in reality, if I have to, I can always duplicate stitch some of those. So this one is going to get finished shortly. So that, back in the bag it goes. And the other thing I mentioned that I was thinking of doing was the 316 yarn. I was thinking what I was going to potentially make as another Rhinebeck sweater. I want to show you that I did cast it on, and my plan had been to make another, looking too green here. It's not the shade of green, it's the natural lighting. I had planned to make a little romance with it because I love this pattern so much. And I thought I had enough of this yarn to make it, but I miscalculated. I actually only had 4 skeins and I needed 5. And this was a one-of-a-kind dye, and I reached out, and they still carry this colorway, but it's the dye's a little different. So I decided it's on hold. I'm going to repurpose it for something else. So I'm not going to make a little romance with this as I had intentionally planned. What I am going to do is, because I'm not going to give up on it, because I loved a little romance, I am going to do another one, and I have it here behind me. I did get myself some more yarn, and I am going to make it in a spring colorway. I'm going to use the Broco Remix Light again, and I'm going to do this for the touch of color, and the body is going to be in this peach brown tone, and I'm going to make I'm going to make it the same exact way. It just fit me so well. I love how this yarn works up. I love how this yarn feels after it's worn. It's a beautiful spring-like yarn, summer yarn, early fall nightwear. I've worn my little romance so many times. I had to finally put it in the laundry basket at the bottom so that I don't keep wearing it. So this will be next up for the spring. It's there. And I bought that from Skein Yarn Shop. They were having a sale on the Remix Light. So I bought that colorway, and I bought a green with an olive green, which I have sent as a gift to a friend because they liked the sweater as well. And I got the yarn as a gift and sent it her way. So now that we talked about those acquisitions, let's move on to the other acquisitions that I have. Taking on from what the last podcast was, I did order some more of the Rosarius Quattro yarn. I did find that the Woolery in Kentucky, Frankfort, Kentucky, does carry the yarn. Just a couple of examples, just a couple of exemplars of the yarn, but it's what I needed. So I ordered, and this is how it came packaged. So I ordered one more skein of the Piopardo in the colorway. It doesn't have a name, it's just color 7, which has got the blue tones, but it was packaged up like this. I kept it so you could see how tightly they sent it. I ordered some more of the green, which is color, this colorway is, but it's the light green one. And I got another fall of the blue, which is, this one is the Rosarios. Let's see if I can show you here, but it's the Humaria, which is a sport weight as well, right? Yeah, size 3 sport weight. It's the Humaria. Oh, you can't see it because the label's right on it. But I showed this in the last podcast. So if you are interested in trying this yarn, particularly this, let me get it from here so you can see it better. The Piopardo yarn. So I have color 19 and color 7. If you're interested in trying out this yarn, the Woolery sells it at $9.99 a skein. So for $20 you get two. You get 2, which is enough to do the color work for the sweater. If you're interested in doing it, a small, you probably would use 1.5. But here's what it looks like. Now that I've shown you this, I can put it in here with the others. And what else do I have to show you? So I showed you my intentions to have just what fit in here. I have to say that I did really, really well. I came away with just what fit in here. When I bought the yarn at Herd of Cats, she gave me this little bag. And so I had her yarn in here. And I had, the only other purchases I had in here were the needles, which, I just lost my, where did I put it? I just showed you the needles that I bought. They fell. Hey, had fallen. And other than those, gosh, isn't that something? Do you guys ever do that? You put something down and you're like, where did it disappear to? Oh, where did it disappear to? I put it in the bag. Honestly, Olivia. Ay, paciencia. Hey, Dad. So I bought 2 sets of needles. I bought the size 1s, and I decided to get size 4s in these Indian Lake Artisans. It's wooden needles, hand turned. I got the size 4 because I make a lot of cowls, and I thought I'd give these a try. These were a little pricier than I had anticipated, but I really like how they felt, and I've heard about them, and I wanted to give them a try. It's cherry. It's made with cherry wood. I got the 16-inch size 4s, and yeah, I'll be giving these a try with some cowls because I do have plans to make more litmus cowls because I have so many minis. So we'll see how this works out. So all right, so 2 purchases plus the sock yarn that I'm already using, and I'll put a picture in here what it looked like in the skein. And the only 2 other purchases I have, actually there was another purchase. So that, and I did pick up, on the way out, I stopped at the Miss Babs booth and I picked up 2 Yowza minis. And so this is Yowza minis. This one is called Franklin and this one is Moss. And I liked these colorways together. I'm not sure what I would make with them, but I like the colorways, and I thought I have to at least grab something from Miss Babs. I did grab something else from Miss Babs that I don't have here to show you, but I'll put in a picture here of the other skein that I purchased. It was the show colorway in Zephyr, and the yarn, it was fingering, and it was her Putnam based. I picked that up, but I have sent that off as a gift to the same friend that I mentioned earlier. I won't say more because she watches the podcast. But in terms of me, what I brought home, it was just three skeins of yarn in this little bag, which fit inside my little backpack. And I felt really proud of myself. I really did it. I said, you know, I didn't get anything that I wasn't going to need. So let's talk about what I did get besides the yarn. And I'll do a very quick talk about my trip to New York Sheep and Wool. What was it for me this year? This was my fourth year of going. No, third year. 21, 22, 23, 24. No, the fourth year. My first year was in 21. Great year to go because it wasn't overly crowded. It gave me an opportunity to really experience Rhinebeck with less crowds, get a sense of the land, see how it worked. I'd never gone previously because I never thought that it was something that I would enjoy, because I'd always heard it's about knitters and crocheters and everybody wears sweaters and people ask you, what sweater are you wearing? What yarn did you make with it? And I didn't think I was at that level, or at that nível, as we say in Portuguese, a nível of being a knitter to that caliber. It wasn't me. So I was a little intimidated to go, but in 21, I decided to give it a try, and I'm so glad I did. We had a blast as a family. My husband is always more than willing to drive me anywhere so that I can knit on the road trip, and my son is always ready for a road trip. So the three of us went. We had a great time. It was my first year of participating in the crochet contest as well, and I did take first place. I do have a blue ribbon to show that I did do 190 double crochet stitches, I think it was, that year in the 10 minutes allotted. Phenomenal experience the first year. Decided to do it again the second year. I'm a little bit more, by year two, I'm a little bit more comfortable with what I'm making and what I'm wearing. If somebody asks me, got to meet some friends, got to meet some podcasters. It was just an overall great experience. 23 was a great experience as well. Crochet contest, year two, won again. Crochet contest, won. So I've got three blue ribbons for meeting the 200 or so stitches within the 10 minutes, double crochet stitches. And just an overall great experience. Every year, though, it's been more and more people, and the crowds are bigger and bigger. And because this year my husband, my son decided that, you know, they'd seen it and it was all right. They would go do their thing for the day. So it was a drop off. They dropped me off and off they went. But that meant I lost my photographer to take my photos. And but I had this idea of what it was that I was going to do, which was starting off by going to the souvenir tent. Went to the souvenir tent, and this is where I did most of my damage. I did the damage in buying the merchandise because I absolutely love the logo of this year. Love, love, love it. So the first thing I was fortunate enough to get, and right in front of me, I wanted to get one with the rainbow handles, but the last one was sold out right in front of me. So I got the black handles, and it was the bag. I do have my 2021 one because that was the first year I went, and I don't plan on buying any others, but this logo, just I had to get the bag. So I got the bag, and I purchased the little sport bag, you know, for when I want to take a smaller bag with me. I got the mixed size and the next size. So altogether, I got 4 bags with a logo. And also got the little pins, those cute little pins that I'm going to share with my friends who weren't able to go. I got the little, isn't that adorable? The artwork was sensational. I did vote for it last year. I was so glad to see that it won. And along with the bags, I also got the t-shirt and the sweatshirt. So I think And this has been fantastic. I wore this t-shirt the other day, physical therapy. I'm getting physical therapy on my shoulder. And the therapist looked and said, "That is an amazing logo. Where did you find that?" I said, "Oh, Sheep and Wool Festival." "Oh, my sister's a knitter. Oh, I wonder if she knows that there was a festival she could have gone to." I said, "Well, I'm sure if she's a knitter, she'll know what it is." And it's the best way to describe it. It's a yarn con, like, you know, there's Comic Con. It's a yarn con for knitters, crocheters, and spinners. It's anybody that's around yarn knows about New York Sheep and Wool in Rhinebeck, New York. I spent 45 minutes in line, people watching, which I loved, but I wasn't just going to be standing there knitting and socking, people watching. I had another idea. So in my bag, I made myself this bingo game or chart. And my idea was, now that I've become a more aware knitter, more familiar with sweaters designers, I wanted to test my knowledge. And so I did a bingo card where if I saw a top, I would cross it off. So I did get bingo. I think I got 2 bingos. Yeah, I got 2 bingos. I did spot, you know, pressed flower cardies. There was tons of them. Of course, there was tons of a pressed flower cardie, a pressed flower pullover, the frame sweaters. Oh my goodness, there was so many frame sweaters. That was easy. I did spot a wool and honey on Sunday, but that was from, because Leanne from Cocktail Hour at the Coop was wearing hers, as well as the, it was the, where was it? I saw Halibuts, I saw Saturday Shrug, I saw Felix sweater, I saw Misurina, framed cowls. It was the Jethro. The Jethro was one that I hadn't seen until Judy, who's somebody that I know through the Cocktail Hour, the Coop Zoom meetings, was wearing it. So I did not catch, I didn't see, I had an Anchor sweater in here. I had an Avena sweater. I had an Alhambra sweater. I didn't spot those. In the sea of sweaters, in the sea of frame sweaters, if you saw anything different, kudos to you. But this was fun for me. I enjoyed doing this, and I might consider doing this again next year. If I'm still podcasting next year, if you guys are interested, I might do something like this and see who gets the bingo. We might do it as a sort of a prize game thing, giveaway. But anyway, a lot of fun for me. Anyway, I enjoyed myself. I was keeping myself entertained. So, oh, this is what I should show you, right? So let's, 3 more things to show you. But let me do this first. So I'm going to show you why that logo was special to me. You probably have already heard me talking about this if you watched my second episode. There, right there. Let's see, I don't want to. So right here, right there, is my sketch of Spencer that Leanne, who is the designer, whose logo it was on the bags, she made that for me of my Spencer. He had passed away when I got back from Rhinebeck in 2022, and I was so devastated. And Leanne sent me that as a sketch as a prize for participating in their New to You mail that they held. And it was, let me just bring this down, and I'll just put a picture in here of that so you can see the sketch, and I'll put a picture of Spencer. So it was very dear and special to me. So when I saw what she submitted for the logo for last year, no, hands down, I had to go and vote on it. And I'm so glad that, you know, a lot of people did. And what a success in selling the merchandise. On Sunday, they were just about sold out of all the t-shirts and sweatshirts as well. So that's, this was the program. And let me just show you my, so my red ribbon this year. The only ribbons I'll ever win at any fair, because I don't do pies, I don't do bake-offs, I don't eat stuff that would earn a ribbon. This year I got the red, and here's my square. I got the red with 198 stitches. The lady in front of me won the blue ribbon with 200 stitches. Her ball of yarn must have been weighed with a little bit more yarn. I was about to ask for more yarn when they started the countdown of 10, 9, 8, so I didn't even bother. So if I'd had just a little bit more yarn, I would have taken the blue ribbon again. My husband says I should stop participating to give someone else an opportunity. I told him somebody could always be faster than I am. Well, this year somebody did beat me to it, to the blue ribbon, but it was so much fun. She was so excited when she won. It was her first Rhinebeck, and I totally get it. I was just as excited my first year. And yeah, there's people that participate in the Knitting with Chopsticks event. There's also a spinning event, but for me, it's the crochet. Crochet is hands down the fastest thing that I do. And there's my price for this year. Yeah. So let's see, I showed you that. I showed you what I've won there. And I think all that's left for me to say is, if you did catch my episode last month almost, thank you for being there with me. That Saturday, the 28th of September, was my birthday. I didn't exactly say it out loud, although I left a few little hints when I was editing. I hadn't planned to record that day, hence the hair needed a little bit of TLC. I had been sitting on my deck, spending my birthday doing what I love to do most, sitting on the deck knitting, because the weather was absolutely gorgeous that Saturday. My boys asked me if I wanted to go out for dinner, and I said sure. And then I said, you know what, I'm just going to go over and record before we head out to dinner, because I wanted to leave a little recording of me on my birthday. If my boys don't see it in the future, maybe my grandchildren will. They'll be able to see a video of their grandmother talking on the day of her birthday. So thank you for being with me, spending my birthday with me, and just another year around the sun. I'm not one to expect gifts or it's just not. I just love to spend time with my boys, or with my yarn, and a dinner out with them was perfectly fine. But I was surprised by my friend Robin, who did come to visit me and brought me the most delicious, it wasn't a cake, it wasn't a coffee cake. It was a strudel kind of thing that she went to Costco to get for me. And Costco from us, no, it wasn't Costco. She went to, what's the name of that place now? So she made a special trip to go get it for me. She made a 40-minute drive to go get this for me. And she brought me a skein of yarn to knit John a pair of socks. Because now she's all excited, as I am, that John likes to wear socks. So she brought me this beautiful skein, and it's called Traveler, which again is a perfect yarn for us, the way we love to travel. So he'll be getting a pair of socks courtesy of Robin, giving me a birthday gift to make him a pair of socks. Win-win all around. I get yarn, but it's a gift, and he gets a new pair of socks. The other little gift that I have to show you is, so my friend Jen, who I've been fortunate to meet through Skein Yarn Shop. She does go and do knit-ins there, and we've become friends through there. She's also a fellow librarian, so it's always great to meet up with a librarian knitting friend. She was the first one I spotted on the hill at Rhinebeck, and she gave me this cute little badge for me to put. I'm going to put in my yarn bags. Knitty friends are the best friends. This was so sweet of her. I didn't want anybody to be spending money on me, so thank you, Jen. I treasure it. And I think that's all I have. I'm going to put at the end of the video, as I said, I lived for the moment. Saturday was the merchandise. It was getting that skein of yarn and people watching. That was it for me on Saturday. On Sunday, I did go back. I, again, alone, did a little bit more walking around, people watching, did a little videotaping of Herd of Cats booth. Wasn't tempted to buy anything else because, again, I'd had so much from last year. And I found myself going to the same vendors I've always gone. And I felt like, you haven't used the yarn you bought from them last year, like 100 Raven yarns. It was just, I picked up some of the yarn too that was in Barn 39. I think it's called Avalon yarn. I had bought 2 skeins last year. I haven't touched it yet. So I forced myself to put everything back. And I felt really good that I had that kind of control this time. And rented some more friends again, took some more pictures, and just enjoyed Sunday a lot more than on Saturday in terms of being able to look and browse. Saturday, the energy is unbelievable. Saturday, the energy with all the amount of people that are there, it's wonderful to see. But Sunday was a much slower pace. I could look, and I did still come away without many purchases. My last stop was at Miss Babs. All that was left was that Garthenor yarn that I saw out of the corner of my eye as I was sort of waiting for the guys to come and pick me up. Overall, another great experience, but even made better that I was able to control my purchasing. And as I wrap up, I'm just going to leave you with one last thing. It's been a while since I've talked about my rescuing of yarn for my charity shop, or Savers, which is close to me. I have found a couple of things that I'll show you with the next podcast. It's been a hit or miss again. It's been a while, but I did find something recently late that next time I'll share with you. But what I did find was I was almost tempted again to buy some of the baskets that are there from the handmade baskets, the fair trade baskets. But every time I go to grab one, I think about how many baskets I already have. So I didn't get one, but Tuesday, I stopped into my local Savers on the way home just because I needed, let me just see if there's any yarn here. I don't know. Sometimes I just need to do that on my way home. And I found something and I wanted to share it with you. So I found, look at this. Somebody had brought a basket to Savers. So it doesn't matter that I already have 10, maybe 15 baskets. I couldn't leave this there because it was $5.49. And what a shame. Somebody must have paid, a fair amount of money for this, because these baskets are worth it. I mean, all being handmade and how they come to be, and supporting women in this business is wonderful. So I felt like I gave it another chance. It'll live in my house with yarn. So here's my newest charity shop find. And I think I will leave you all with that. I am going to play this back, do some editing, see if it makes sense, because I totally went off the rails here. My outline just, I don't know why I even bothered writing the outline. If I've forgotten something in saying it, it'll all be in the notes below. I always welcome a comment from you. If you liked, give me a like, subscribe, or share. The more my channel gets out there, more people will find me. I mean, it may not be for everybody, but for those that enjoy this blathering on of yarn and my little stories here, it'd be great to find them. I did, one of the great things about this community and the social connection that we make through Instagram or YouTube is seeing people that we've only known virtually. One of the persons is Jess S. Makes. She's in Tampa, Florida. We've been communicating via Instagram, and after Jess was the first person I saw on the hill. And it was so great to see her in person, having only seen her on Instagram or via Zoom when we participate in the cocktail hour at the Coop Zoom nights. And it's great, that connection. It makes you like, we know each other. We talk the same language. It's fantastic. And Jess has just started her podcast. I am so happy for her. She just uploaded her second episode. She's got a little bit of Rhinebeck talk on there as well. And if you watch me, go watch Jess, because we have very similar tastes and makes in podcasts that we watch, similar tastes in yarn. She also got the Miss Babs yarn. So give her a follow. She's just starting up. Go give her a little thumbs up and a follow if you're interested. Okay, so closing time. I gotta go. It's time to go. So thank you for joining me again. Muito obrigada. Até a próxima. Until next time. Ciao.